Greg looked up at the ghost swaying in the air-conditioned breeze. "I should hope so. I don't think you could cram any more Halloween decorations in the shop if you tried." Sasha grinned at him. "Aren't those great? My daughter's preschool has them all over the lobby, too. That way the kids get decorations, but they are totally out of reach. Child-proof ghosts." I wasn't sure that Greg agreed with Sasha's evaluation of the decor, but he wouldn't be here for the party. Aunt Jackie, Sasha, and Toby were in charge for the weekend. Greg and I'd be locked up with 3 other couples in South Cove's version of a real haunted house. The mansion was a few miles out of town on the coastline and overlooked the ocean. In a few weeks, the city was tearing the house down and selling the land to a condo developer. With what they charge for those types of places, this was the only time I'd be able to sleep that close to the waves unless I took a sleeping bag out to the beach. I watched as Greg formulated his response. Ever the politician, even though he swore he wouldn't go into politics even on a dare. "It's very thoughtful. I don't think I've ever considered the child-proofing aspect of a Halloween party," Greg said, which was totally true. The only child he'd ever had to take care of was his brat of an ex-wife, Sherry, and she only acted like she was the child. "Are we ready, then?" I grabbed a couple of books off the counter where I'd set them and tucked them into my purse. "I'm ready to be scared." "You're planning on having time to read?" Greg took my arm and led me out to the front where his truck was parked. He'd stopped by that morning to get my duffel for the weekend and pick up the key for Toby. Toby was babysitting Emma while we were gone. Emma liked Toby. He took her for runs on the beach just as often as I did. When you have a golden retriever, you have to keep them busy so they don't eat the couch pillows, which was my dog's favorite pastime when I was out of the house. Aloud, maybe? I picked out 3 of the scariest books I know. I have King's classic, The Shining, another by the master, Salem's Lot, and one from Peter Straub, appropriately called Ghost Story. They might be old, but they're darn scary. I climbed into the truck and waited for him to close the door and come around to the other side. This, being treated like a princess, had its advantages. I didn't order enough of The Haunting of Hill House, and the store was sold out by the time I started grabbing. Shirley Jackson. Now that's a classic horror story. Greg started the engine and moved into traffic. "I hear, though, you should have put some witchcraft books in your tote. Toby said the old woman who lived there before was a witch. I think that's a legend. Besides, witches aren't that scary." I pawed through the grocery sack that held our junk food for the weekend. "Didn't you buy Reese's pumpkins? I swear they're the best." We spent the rest of the short ride to the house, debating which Halloween candy was superior. I knew I would win this round, mostly because Greg was a big candy corn fan. Like that was even a real candy. Amy and Justin had already parked and were standing outside Justin's SUV, drinking bottled water and watching the house. Amy Newman was my best friend. She'd been dating Justin, who was a professor from the local college for the last few years. They fit each other's personality to a T. They both loved surfing, staying in shape, and for some strange reason, international soccer. Amy had made noises that there was going to be some sort of big game on Sunday, but Justin had promised he'd record the game so they wouldn't miss it. As we got out of the truck, the men greeted each other with that half-handshake, half-hug with a backslap thing they did. "They're doing the bro thing," I whispered to Amy, as she gave me a real hug, like a real friend. "Men, at least they're not going around marking their territory." That got me giggling, and Greg and Justin stared at me. "I think we're being judged." Greg glanced at Justin, who had picked up a piece of machinery from the roof of the SUV. "Hey, what's that you have?" "The electronics department let me borrow an EMF, electromagnetic field detector."